Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Awakened Moms Roundtable. This is conversations with trailblazing moms who are creating huge impacts in the world. It's such a delight to be here with you and to share this conversation with you, with these women that I've had such a delight to get to know. I am Reverend Wendy Silvers, and I am a mom, a minister. I've had the opportunity I was the faith-based engagement team lead for the Kennedy campaign, and I met so many people through that wonderful campaign that are still my friends, and some I have met before through my work, the Stand for Children having freedom, parents having freedom, all of us having freedom over our bodies. So the women that I'm going to introduce you to, I have known for quite a while, and it's a joy and an honor to be here with all of you. Thank you for saying yes to coming here today. And I'm going to just very briefly tell you about who is with me right now. There are people that are arriving here, but we're going to move into this beautiful time together. So Brianne Dressen, who is a filmmaker and a mom, and she is the producer of the film Follow the Silence. And also React 19 is an organization that was created to support people that have been vaccine injured and largely ignored and dismissed by the governing agencies, doctors. Jacqueline Capriotti, who is somebody that I met through the campaign, who has Health Revolution USA and Victory Gardens, and she is a rockin' mama from New Jersey who's been involved in PR and strategy and policy. We've got Tracy Slepcevic, who is an author and a mama and an all-out warrior, and also she has an organization called Autism Health, and she and her wonderful husband Steve host this event that just is about informing, inspiring, and uplifting people. And I first heard Tracy speak at Conscious Living Expo, and I remember her speaking about her experience, and I was just like, oh my God, I have to meet this woman. So I'm really honored to have Tracy and Jacqueline and Brianne and Helene. I have had the pleasure of just getting to know now. She and her daughter have a weight loss organization, but she has been on a path of growth and transformation for a long, long time. And then we also have, I'm also really delighted, we have Nicole Shanahan, who is here with us, and I'm going to bring her onto the stage at this moment. I was there in Oakland when it was announced that she was going to be Bobby's running mate, and that was such a joy and such a thrill. And last year, we had the opportunity to do a mom's roundtable, and Amaryllis Fox and Nicole were my guests, and I'm so happy to be here with you again. Hi, Nicole.
Hi, Reverend Wendy. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's so good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm glad that you can be with us. And I know that you have something of a time constraint, so I want to jump in with you. And for those of you who may not know who Nicole is, I'm not sure. I was going to make a joke like, I'm not sure where you've been if you don't know who Nicole is, but I'll tell you a little bit about Nicole. She's a mom. She's a beautiful human. She's host of Back to the People podcast. She's a California-based attorney and the founder and president of BioEcho Foundation, a private foundation that aims to invest in change makers at the forefront of innovation who are tackling some of the world's greatest challenges: reproductive longevity and equality, criminal justice reform, and a healthy and livable planet. Initial investments and projects led by BioEcho include the launch of the world's first Center for Reproductive Longevity and Equality at the Buck Institute for Research on Aging and the Stanford Computational Policy Lab to drive social impact on criminal justice reform via data analysis and technical innovation. Prior to launching BioEcho, Nicole supported these efforts through the Sergey Brin Family Foundation. And she is such a beautiful soul. And one of the things that I appreciate, like from the first time I saw her on the stage in Oakland, is her sincerity and her availability to the present moment. So, Nicole, thank you again for saying yes to be here with us today to talk about how motherhood transformed and motivated you to take a stand in a way you might not have done before.
Yeah, thank you. It's really interesting hearing my old bio spoken because I've changed so much. I've learned so much since starting my foundation and really out of good faith trying to make our communities more just and fair and help women find healthy, natural ways to maintain reproductive capacity. And then only to learn that no matter how much money I flood into these very well-intentioned fields, we're dealing with forces that want to see the family broken, that want to undermine security in our American cities. And fighting it through philanthropic means and trying to find ways through science to help women protect their reproductive capacity is meaningless in a world in which we're being poisoned constantly. And we're being poisoned by big pharma. We're being poisoned by big ag. And then trying to fund scientists to go up against these massive behemoths of power is so hard. We know what is preventing women in their early 40s from conceiving and bringing to term a healthy baby. It's the toxins in the environment. So why can't I just flood money into the system and fight it through science and pointing out conclusively, this is what's happening. Well, here's the thing, we have the science. We have a lot of it published. We have the knowledge. What we don't have is the political will to hold these forces accountable for the damage they've done to our communities.
What do you mean by political will?
Well, we have to have politicians that are unwilling to take checks from agrochemical companies and take checks from big pharma. That's probably one of the most infuriating lessons that I seem to have to learn over and over again, is that, you know, finding a politician who's not going to, once they get in seat, capitulate to that kind of pressure is almost impossible. I can name on one hand, who these politicians are.
Can you name them?
Yeah, I mean, we've got Rand Paul doing his best, Ron Johnson doing his best, Jay Bhattacharya, Thomas Massey doing his best. But, you know, and I think Bobby's doing his best too, but, you know, I think we're all a little concerned that he doesn't have the right team around him right now. And the pressures on these individuals is so intense. And they get targeted if they speak out. And, you know, it's really, it's such a, it's now fringe to be doing the right thing at that level of government and that type of power. It's fringe to just say it over and over again that we can't keep poisoning our kids. I mean, how is that? How is that the world we're living in? And so, you know, motherhood is something that can't be bought out. We can't be bought out to just overlook the harm in the system.
Absolutely.
And so it's really, I really think that, you know, we can't be told to just be quiet and sit it out. We have to keep pushing.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. Wholeheartedly. For me, motherhood transformed my relationship to life, to the world. And I stood up in ways and continue to stand up in ways that I probably might not have stood up for myself, even though I felt strongly about that. I had a conversation with Tracy Ryerson about Kelly Ryerson, excuse me, and we were talking about the pesticides and how the pesticides are contributing to the reduction in fertility in both boys and girls, females, males, and how important it is to transform exactly what you're talking about. And so, do you think it's possible? I mean, do you think it's possible for us to heal this divide? I know that was, I really, really related to that campaign motto and undergirding principle because it's where I live. Like, I really think it's so important for us to heal the divide. And we're living in such a polarized society. Everything is weaponized and polarized and politicized. So, do you feel like it's possible?
Yeah, of course. And I think that's what MAHA and MAGA have aimed to do, is to align around the issues and not about and not align about a party. I mean, MAHA could be its own party in the
Mm-hmm.
United States. MAGA could be its own party. The union of the two could be a very powerful coalition, which it is. It was in 2024. And yeah, I think that I'm very optimistic about it. We definitely have to grow the number of people in government that represent this coalition. And I'm reading the comments. It's when I say like it's fringe to be in government and to be Mahamaga, well, if you look at the actual numbers of individuals holding executive office, holding agency, very powerful agency positions, congressmen and senators, and you look at who's in the caucus, the Maha caucus, it's a really tiny representation. I mean, that should be, I would hope, at least 60%. And if you look at the American sentiment around Maha and MAGA, it's definitely the majority. We are the majority. We're just not seeing that in our representative class right now.
Well, that's why we're here. That's why we're here now. That's why you're doing, I mean, your podcast, Back to the People, is excellent. And we just continue to pour into people what is possible, what's available, how they can move. I think some of the strides that Bobby has made are huge accomplishments in all the years that many of us have been in the health freedom movement and wanting there to be change at the level that he's in, and to see some of that happening in the first 110 days, 120 days is remarkable. So that's it's it's inspiring. It's like there's more of that. So what part of your mission became amplified because of motherhood?
I think I used to be, if you see early interviews of me, I was very timid and I was very politically correct. And I wanted to be liked for being careful with my word. And the reality is as I went about this, I stopped. Of course, I want to be impeccable with my word, but I'm not going to mince words to be politically correct. Um, and it's been a very good opportunity um, to really lend a voice to that inner mom, right? It's not like I was segmenting my identity between public figure and mom. That inner mom I just kind of brought to the forefront and I just let her go. Um, and in letting her go, I felt like a whole person for the first time in a long time. And I think that segmenting identities so that you can, accomplish work or, a professional life or a public facing life. And then, you come home and you shed that just to become mom, and mom has to stay at home. The mom character stays at home. But I was like, no, I let her loose.
Yes.
I
Yes.
let her loose on the public stage. And that was, for me, it was like I felt like I was Echo's mom every minute of every day. And I was actually doing the public facing work, I think, better. It was more authentic.
Well, I want to acknowledge that I can feel a strength in you since the last time we spoke. It's so evident. It's so I see you. I see what you've embodied. and how you've embodied it and how you continue to speak out. Even recently, when you spoke out about Casey, and you have your feelings, your senses, your insight about it, and you didn't hold back. You weren't trying to be liked. You were speaking what was true for you. And it was really powerful. I think you're very powerful.
Thank you. It's this idea of, not wanting to be a dissident, but when you put motherhood first in front of any other ambition, you find today that you end up looking and sounding a bit like a dissident.
Yeah, it's so true. It's very true. So
Yeah.
is there anything that you would have said to your new mother self, and from where you're sitting right now?
Oh, God, I wish I had trusted my instinct. I wish that I didn't try to segment myself from being accepted or acceptable. I wish I would have just cast that away the moment I became pregnant and just focused on being a fully instinctual mother.
Mm,
Because I felt it. I felt the fear. I felt, the wanting to push back. But but I capitulated to the expert pediatricians and listened to them and listened to the experts at the CDC and the experts in the community, and they prey on our desire to want to be good moms. And as a first-time mom, I didn't know enough about how corrupt the system was.
mm,
And I just so deeply wanted to do the right thing for my child. And so many moms end up injuring their babies out of just a desire to do the right thing and insecurity about um, that inner voice.
yes, yes. Well, thank you for being willing to speak so honestly about that and being another voice in this space about what your experience is and how you go forward and speak about what's important and what we need to do. I'd love to bring the other women on with you. Are you good with that?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Perfect. Okay. So everybody, I'm going to bring the other mamas onto the stage so we can be together here and they can add their voices here to really see the power of coming together in a collective voice. There's no one that has more power than a mama who feels like it is her time to speak up. It is absolutely how these women come forward and stand in their power, stand in their strength, and go to the Capitol, go to the elected officials, take on, like Nicole took on, running as vice president candidate with Bobby, and continues to do that. So I want to introduce to you the rest of the women here. And so we have Jacqueline Capriotti, we have Tracy Slepcevic, we have Helene Leeds, we have Brianne Dressen. I was speaking before Brianne came on board. I saw this film called Follow the Silence, and it was devastating and extraordinary. And I thought to myself, here's a mom who was doing what she thought, just like Nicole, just like almost so many moms here. And then what happened? And then she did a film. Like she did a film. She turned her pain into purpose. She started moving forward with something that so many people that are here went through all of these moments during COVID, during the lockdown, of perhaps being isolated, perhaps being ostracized, perhaps getting judgment, losing jobs, all these things. And Brianne took that and transformed that into something that people can see. That's absolutely, it's extraordinary. And Jacqueline, whose children have CF, cystic fibrosis, and what she's done as a mom with with her children, not one child, but both children, and how she helped her son so dramatically. She's on the board, all this that she's done. And Tracy with Noah, who she took her son to the doctor, and then he started to regress, and then she recovered him. Her and her husband Steve doing so much, and Helene with Penelope, and they have this organization that helps people redirect, have a different relationship to food, to their body, based on their own experience. So you are here in this space with moms that have been moved by pain into purpose, into creating something that each and all of us can benefit from. It's extraordinary. So I do have, Kelly couldn't be here with us, so I have a recording that I'll share with you in a little while, but I really just wanted to invite everybody in, and I'm going to ask each of you, and you can just unmute and speak as you will, to speak about how motherhood transformed your life. What was your first inkling? What happened? How has it served to continue to inform you? So popcorn style, you can't unmute? Okay. Oh, okay. Thanks for letting me know. Okay, can you
Thank
unmute?
you.
All right.
Hi, Nicole. Good to see you again. It's been a little while. How motherhood transformed me. My son gave me purpose. I wouldn't trade anything for nothing. The families I've been able to help over the years, all over the world, the lives I've been able to assist and change, many of them here on this program right now. It's been a beautiful journey. It's been an experience. So I always say we're spiritual beings having a temporary human experience. And in that human experience, when you shine your light, lurking around the corner is always going to be darkness. So in regards to your question earlier, Wendy, in regards to will we ever be able to come together? There's no matter what, there's always going to be darkness lurking around the corner, but it's to always remember that when that happens, to just shine your light brighter, because sometimes they can't stand within our light. So I always like to be the positive voice, give people solutions, and educate families. So that's why I started my nonprofit organization, Autism Health, and then the conference, to be able to educate people without filters, because I personally have no filters. Just say it how it is from a complete space of love, not to offend anybody or anything, but even when people come to me and say, help me, and they want a one pill fixes all, there is no one pill fixes all. You either do the work or you don't. And if you don't want to do the work, then I'm not that coach for you. It's just, black and white. But, right now my conference is the only conference out there that is actually, in the autism community, that is just speaking truth, that is letting people know about vaccine entry, that is letting people know solutions, biomedical intervention and solutions for these families and kids, and even spell to communicate, and that community, and I play in the sandbox. I'm all about connecting with other organizations. It isn't about my organization has to be better than your organization. And that's not what it's about. It's about coming together as a community, because I'm sure that most of us autism parents that are here today, or anybody with a child with disabilities, when they found out about that, the first, feeling that I had personally was I just felt alone, and I didn't want to be alone. So I made sure that I surrounded myself around parents and professionals, and it took a while. I went to, coffee talks and conferences, and, but for the first year or so, it was just me and Noah cleaning out our guts and reading all kinds of books and trying to find out as much information as I possibly could. But now, I do my best to share that with so many others to assist them in their healing journey. And, it's not about, who's who or what's what, but it really is all about, us coming together and to educate the community and everyone around us so that we can make the world a better place and, heal the world. And then over time, heal the divide.
Yes, thank you. I think that light is always shining brighter than the darkness.
I agree.
We get to be the light right here. So thank you. I appreciate all of that. And so Jacqueline, Brianne, are you able to unmute?
Yeah, I think I'm unmuted.
Okay.
You can hear me?
Yep.
So for me, it took 14 years for my son to be diagnosed with cystic fibrosis. Normally, they're diagnosed at birth or within the first year. And my husband and I, we knew something was wrong. And what I learned is not what we both learned was not to doubt our gut. We kept pushing, we kept asking questions. We were dismissed, by the medical community. And then our daughter she was just before she was 11 years old, she was diagnosed through genetics after John was. And what led to his diagnosis was he developed severe CF-related chronic pancreatitis. And we went from 0 to 60. So it was like you got this massive diagnosis. Cystic fibrosis is a life-threatening disease. It's a progressive genetic disease. And when they were born, life expectancy was about 18 years old. And they look like it's a very invisible disease as well. So you would never know that there was anything wrong with them. But we knew something was wrong and the doctors weren't listening. So I would say, listen to your heart and listen to your gut and not be afraid to challenge. I had to learn how to speak to doctors, develop and to the medical community and develop relationships with them, respecting each other and creating boundaries in there. I found my intelligence. I developed confidence through my intelligence, and I took that from, researching clinical trials and clinical studies, had to find them for the kids, had to find a surgery that saved our son's life because he lost his ability to eat by mouth for several years. We had to move across the country for that. We found a clinical trial that helped put the kids on a medication that is transforming their lives and potentially giving them decades. But there's still this ongoing, every time we're in there, don't be afraid to ask the stupid question, there's never a stupid question. And that's, we were always taught that, but for some reason, when we ask questions, a lot of times it's dismissed. So, and I felt very isolated before, like Tracy had said, I felt very alone, but I found a great community within the CF community and then in the chronic pancreatitis community. Then my daughter developed POTS, so I developed it on top of it. So I had a community there. And then when I came on board and worked with the Kennedy campaign, I found this beautiful community here. So this has really been, you guys have all been a godsend. And, I don't feel alone anymore. And I've learned how to advocate and help others advocate.
Yes, you have. Thank you. Yes.
Thanks. Yeah, quality of life is everything.
It's remarkable to me that the through line is your intuition, trusting your intuition, really not allowing anyone, and how common it is when you see somebody who's either in a corner office or in a white suit, white jacket, that all of a sudden, all that strength and that power, you start to, at times before something like this occurs, you start to question yourself. Do I have a right to say this? Is it okay if I say this? And then you do. All of a sudden you're like, yeah, I got it right. I'm the mother. I'm Dr. Mom. I know. So Brianne and Helene, feel free to unmute.
Thank you. Using your intuition, I think, is really important, and then developing that discernment between what is fear and what is intuition has been a really big an edge, and I think it is for all of us because sometimes they blend. So I have a daughter who was identified early on as having language-based learning differences. She wasn't reading. We had all kinds of issues, and then the anxiety, the depression, came on, and I came from an eating disordered household, and so my daughter, I thought for sure was not going to be that because I was a healthy mom, but she was 320 pounds at age 15, depressed, suicidal, anxious, not going to school, not sure she would graduate from high school. And she turned it around. But the agony and the helplessness and dealing with food addiction and screen addiction and other addictions that are piled on. And I know everybody on this call can relate because I'm not the only one. I did feel very alone because I couldn't get the help that I needed. And it is a spiritual battle. We're in a spiritual crisis, and I mean, as a collective, and my story is representative of that. Luckily, we were able to turn it around, and we do, help like Tracy and like Jacqueline, like Wendy and like Nicole, Brianne. We have to help others. It's almost like our challenge was given to us as a way to empower others and teach them the skills to get simple things, get back in the kitchen, realign with nature. That's why I'm sitting outside right now. To really just get back to the memory that our bodies are designed to heal themselves, that we are in community, we heal in community, that we need each other. And I agree with Tracy. It's like when you have this child, it gives you purpose. Like, oh, this is why I'm here, and now I understand this love that I have never known in any other way, and it changes everything.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it does. It makes such a difference to go from feeling like you are alone and a pariah because you're seeing things differently to having a community of people that you can lean into, that are like, yeah, I understand, I get it, yeah, that makes sense, yeah, so it's true, it's very true. It's fascinating to me in terms of how these things might not have happened if we were not mothers. We might have had other experiences, but as mothers, as ones who are mothering, all of a sudden your life is not only about you. It's about this beautiful being that's been entrusted, or beings that have been entrusted into your care. And then how that journey unfolds and how we relate to it. So thank you. Thank you. Brianne. There you go. There you are.
Oh, okay, there we go. Hi, everyone. I'm Brianne Dressen. I'm a mom. I've got two adorable kids. I think they're the cutest kids on the planet. They would roll their eyes if they heard me gushing about them again. But I was all in on all of it, similar to kind of Nicole's process of waking up. I trusted the science, I trusted the doctors. I remember with my first boy, he's now 12, but when he was a baby, went into my first doctor's appointment with the pediatrician, and I didn't give him the Hep B vaccine in the hospital because they're perfect. They're perfect little beings. There's no reason for them to be poked at all. And this is like far left Democrat me back in the day, right? And still, even then, I was like, this doesn't make any sense. And I remember the pediatrician making me feel immediately like a barbaric, anti-health, dangerous, reckless mom for not giving him that shot in the hospital right when he came out. And, Nicole was talking about how they prey on these moms, and they absolutely do. They capitalize on that vulnerability that each of us have, because I know that there's so many of us that once we have those perfect little beings in our hands, we didn't know that type of love even existed. And then
Mhm.
that love just continues to grow as these children grow. But then also we all find our voice through that process, right? Just like everyone here that has talked about their own experience through hardship and that incredible voice that has come because of that, which is, I'm so humbled to be around every one of you in this environment, because it's not very often where I'm able to be surrounded by such strong, inspirational women.
Mhm.
It's incredible what each of you are able to do and what you have done. Because just like me, I have my own journey that has been kind of, like moving through a refiner's fire through my own vaccine injury and experiencing firsthand the corruption and the evil that is, constantly at our doors, every single one of us. And they're coming after our kids all the time, right? And it's incredible to see. There's a lot of people that do, moms as well, that they see the problem and they go, that's not my fight.
Mhm.
And they go about their life, right? Because there is so much to being a good mom. We can
Yeah.
all fill our environment and every single minute of our day with really worthy things that make us good moms, that have nothing to do with taking on Goliath. So it's an incredibly humbling experience for me to be here with all of you that are fellow, David's taking on Goliath. So thanks for letting me be here.
Well, thank you, Brianne. Again, I encourage, if all of you have not seen Follow the Silence, I'm going to tell you it's not a feel-good movie per se, but it is a very eye-opening movie, and especially to see the conversations that Brianne had with Peter Mark, and it was just who was formerly with the FDA, very, an oncologist, and big position. And Brianne having conversations with him, repeated information delivered. Oh no, there's nothing wrong. So it is quite amazing. Thank you, Glenn, for putting that there. It's quite amazing to be in this company of moms who, through their own lived experience, and that's why it is so important to honor yourself for all that you've done. And I so appreciate what Tracy said, what you said, Tracy, about you wouldn't trade it for a minute. And it's such a testament to who you are, because Tracy is that. If you haven't met her, she is that light. She is that person who speaks truth when you're in her company. She's warm and open, and she asks her a question and she answers, it's like, and provides that. So I think it's so wonderful to have that particular perspective, because even though I'm going to ask each of you, what would you tell your new mom self? I know that having that perspective of it's all working in a perfect and divine order, the way that everything has happened, even the hard stuff. Like, they've done studies where they will say to people, do you want to trade your life from somebody else's life? And 9 times out of 10, the people will say, no, that's okay. I'll keep my life. So, mamas, is there anything that you would say to your younger mama self that you have gleaned, that pearl of great price? And again, you can all popcorn style. And I have you are.
Homeschool.
I agree wholeheartedly. I would
work-
never have sent her to school.
Not that I want my child to be vaccine injured, and there's so many times it runs through my head, if only I knew, right? But then I wouldn't be on this journey, and he's doing so amazing. But I do wish he wasn't so indoctrinated. And that happened in school. So I do, and I do wish that I could have chosen his curriculum, because by the time I actually realized what he was learning in school, it was too late. And this was at the beginning of COVID. So homeschool, I'd be like, homeschool, please.
Thank you.
I would say prioritize the moments and, really don't worry about missing, this thing or that thing or reaching, trying to keep up with the neighbors or with the other kids at school, to show off in front of the other parents or anything like that. This is enjoy your time with your children because it is such a short period of time that you are on this planet together, and that childhood itself is such a short period of time. So really, really cherish those moments. Um, I mean, I've had multiple friends who have lost their children to cystic fibrosis, and that's something that I have really keep telling myself, don't worry about the years, worry about the moments, enjoy the moments. So every birthday that we have, we go all out. We always did. We always did home birthday parties and just made it really extra fun and really enjoy moments.
It is all about the experiences because,
Mhm.
that's what life's all about.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. I think what I would tell my younger self is trust your mama instincts. Don't second guess it. Don't wonder what Susie down the street would think about it.
Mhm.
Stick with your gut. Our intuition is probably one of the most powerful tools that we have, and it's a gift that only mamas have.
Mhm. It's real. It's a real thing. Mother's intuition, like it's a real thing. Not that everybody here that's with us doesn't have intuition, because you do, but there's you do absolutely, but there is this real mother's intuition is it's a thing. It's not just a trite little, oh, my grandmother used to say that. It's very real. So listening to that, and I also, when I hear that, being around people that support you in honoring and listening to your intuition is so important. Like your sacred hoop, your sacred circle, that when you say, I have this sense, something doesn't feel right, because the language of intuition is not logic. The language of intuition is feelings. I have a sense, I feel this, something doesn't feel right. So anyway, Helene.
I also second the homeschool. I would have absolutely homeschooled her. I had no idea that she would be, getting her supply chain from school, and that she would beg, borrow, and steal. And that it was just a horror show for us, the public school system, because I ran out of money for the private school system, and I was convinced I couldn't homeschool. And that was just false thinking. And I think the courage to stand up to our children when something is going awry, trusting our intuition, but also having the courage to stand in their rage and their affront and their, because it can be very challenging to stand for the truth amongst the lies or the indoctrination. And I was a coward sometimes. I was incapable, or felt incapable, of really holding the line as a single mom. And I sometimes wish I had been firmer, stricter, had more structure, because I think she would have benefited from it a lot more.
Yeah, I understand. I understand that very much. And that there again is how important it is to be around people who support you in standing for what you stand on. And one of the things that I've learned as a parenting coach for almost 25 years is what's a very common theme. Our parents are so afraid of disappointing their children that they will almost do anything not to experience their child's disappointment. And yet it's so important to allow your child to feel disappointed and be there and help them move through that, just as it's important for you to stand in that strength. So yes, all of that. I want to say, I see some hands are up. What I would invite everybody to do is to please put your questions in the chat, and then I will ask the speakers or I will answer them if you would do that so we can continue having this chat. I want to share with you my conversation with Kelly, who was just, it was so wonderful to have this time with her. And I'm looking to see this actually. Okay. So unfortunately, I'm not able to share it with you. Let me just see here. Oh, wait, let's see. Ah, yes, can you all see that? Wonderful.
Yes.
Here we go. My next guest is someone I have followed for years. So excited to share her with you. Her name is Kelly Ryerson, and she works at the intersection of health and agriculture, addressing the ways in which our food system, soil, and microbiome have been corrupted by the rampant use of toxic herbicides. She collaborates with scientists, farmers, policymakers, and companies to tackle pressing agricultural issues and their contribution to human disease. Kelly founded the educational platform Glyphosate Facts and most recently became the co-executive director of American Regeneration with Ryland Engelhardt. She has a BA from Dartmouth College in Economics and an MBA with a certificate in healthcare public policy from the Stanford Graduate School of Business. She also studied integrative health coaching through Duke University. And Kelly is a two-time survivor of hyperemesis gravidarum, and she is the mom of two tween and young adult children. And so I'm thrilled to speak with her about all things motherhood, how it informs your vision, just like we're doing with everybody else. So welcome, Kelly.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so thrilled because I've been a follower of your work, and as a mother, I have found that the information that you have shared and continue to share just makes mothering easier when we care so much about our children. Can you speak to how motherhood led you to this work, perhaps, or how motherhood has informed your work?
Absolutely. Yeah, I came from, my eyes were open to this whole issue of the toxicity of the food supply, really through my own illness before my kids. And I just had a terrible time with autoimmunity and all kinds of very strange symptoms all over my body and the doctors couldn't figure out. And long and the short of it is, like, they had me on a boatload of pharmaceuticals that really made things worse. And it wasn't until I understood that this was being driven by my gut and what I was eating could I actually get better. And so that was a really long road of discovering what these pesticides are that are so prevalent in our food supply and what their mode of actions are on the human body that by and large our regulators have ignored. And with that lens, then I was able to look at my children and better understand what was going on with all of their various health issues, which they had. And you know, I actually wasn't able to breastfeed, and so I ended up formula feeding. And between that and C-section, I really felt that they were really behind the game in terms of health. And so I really started investing in my family's food, basically, and starting to give them everything I could, taking the dyes out at an early age and making sure things were organic when they could be, and seeing to it that, you know, our nutrition is so low in this country because the crops themselves no longer have the same level of nutrients that they once did. And so understanding that, and then going in and having them taking their magnesium and zinc and these things that weren't really foundational. And it was really phenomenal watching, because I would bring these problems, big digestive issues with my kids, ADHD certainly, and various rashes and things would pop up on them. And of course, the doctors would always say the answer are pharmaceuticals, and never once did they ask what was being eaten, or even would, if I were to bring it up, it was dismissed as not likely causing whatever the issues are. And so understanding that that's what I was dealing with them, and then starting to make incremental changes myself, that being my own scientist, my own researcher, and trying things and seeing their gut issues resolve has been nothing short of miraculous, and seeing them really thrive right now. I mean, we were able to eliminate all of those issues, and I really feel like it's a privilege that I even knew to do that. And that's something that most people on this planet, but especially in the United States where we're so sick, don't have access to that kind of information. And so, I've tried to be making more moms aware of some of these issues. Oh, it's so important.
I will make sure that you all have access to that video. So you'll receive that in the email that will go out with the recording of this event. So I want to share that with you. I think it's really interesting too, that so many times when we have conversations like this, there is something of a disconnect about the connection between the soil and the foods that we're eating, how it affects our gut. And yet, when we listen to people about recovering their children or about shifting the relationship and having optimal health, you begin with the gut. It's like illness stores itself in your gut. So here you are back again. You go that way and then you come back. Okay, oh, there it is. It's my gut. I have to clear the gut so that my brain thinks properly, so that my blood flows, so that everything is working together. So I'm curious about what part of your mission, do you feel like you have a mission? I know, Tracy, you said you feel like you have a purpose. I'm seeing Helene. Do you feel like you have Brianne and Jacqueline? So how is it that you find yourself keeping that mission alive? You're unmuted again. I don't understand how that happened, y'all. That's weird. Okay.
So there are many moments where I always say, I have to ask God for strength because, after I wrote my book, and I have so many parents that reach out to me from everywhere, through my health coaching business, from the book, from the organization. And there's so much, and I'm very empathic. So it kind of, sometimes it wears on me a little bit, not in a bad way. It's just that I so feel what, their pain that, that I continue to ask God for strength to continue. And I feel that that's super important is, as parents, as activists, as, fighters for our children's freedom, that we ground ourselves and that, we connect ourselves to source, because, when everything gets, out of order, that's where we start to get disconnected. And so in those moments, I do find that to continue my mission, which my mission is to really is to heal and to address those underlying conditions. And that could be with anybody, with any type of disorder, not just for autism. I have all kinds of clients, but, to really just, I also work on their mental health as well and their spiritual well-being. And I feel that that's important, is to really just, ground yourself. Remember to ask God for assistance when things get tough, because, we are human beings just having a temporary, experience here. But I feel that that's one of the most important things to continue our mission.
Thank you.
I definitely feel like I just want to make things better. I want to make things better for my children. I want to make things better for my community, for my country, for my world. And, you talk about relationship with food and the gut. When my son developed pancreatitis, this is one of the most painful abdominal conditions that you could possibly have. And he already had a difficult relationship with food, and we kind of put the dots together over the years and realized, like, over the years, those stomach viruses that they told us that nobody else got in the house, those severe abdominal pain where he was bent over at 5 years old, 4 years old, 8 years old, like those were probably pancreatitis attacks, acute attacks. And then as he turned 14 and 15, and we found out what it was and what the source was, he had already, had this horrific relationship with food because food was hurting him. It was causing him pain. It was causing him nausea. So he has this really bad relationship with food. Now he's 29 years old. So it's difficult for me to just say, no, you can't have this. Changing his diet is very difficult on that. But if I can do different things to be able to make the food system in general better, at least the ingredients and the quality of the food that is being offered that you can get from the store is going to improve. And little by little, it's going to, get better. So, and that's, I started the Victory Garden Alliance, which was the Kennedy Victory Gardens during the campaign, which is supporting locally sourced food, be it from your backyard, your windowsill, or from your local farm. And it's just as pure as simple as that, is just trying to build a strong community and offer us the best quality type of food that we can get for my children and for everybody.
Thank you. Do you need, yes, Brianne has to unmute. There you go.
Sorry. Dog was barking, so I had to mute, and then I couldn't unmute. So this is kind of an interesting interpretation of that question that I have, and it's probably a little bit different, but so we in our community, we're new to the game, even though, I'm almost 5 years into my own vaccine injury, but we're still like the new kids on the block, right? And it's been so crazy to see all of these adults and kids too, that have been injured, and to see them have to redefine what a purpose-driven life looks like for every single one of them, right? And it's been something that I myself had to, go through, because you lose your health, you lose everything, right?
Yeah.
And so your sense of identity, your dignity, everything goes out the window. And putting those pieces together obviously looks different for everybody, but having just a sense of purpose as a mom and making sure that you show up every single day, not just for your kids, but for yourself, I think is, a really important thing that we often forget. We often usually just step up, wake up, go through all the tasks, make sure the kids get to where they need to, and, scrape their little knee scrape, help them with their owies when they get them. And then before you know it, you're going to bed, right? But I think for women in particular, we don't need to have and I try to explain this to my injured friends all the time, is you don't have to have some big microphone to make a difference. You don't.
Right.
The most impactful change and the most impactful difference we can have on people is your own kids as a mother, but then also supporting your communities and your families. And we all have these different communities that we serve, and we do that out of love. Every single one of the women here do that out of selfless love, and that's very apparent. But that doesn't mean that that's the only way to live a purpose-driven life. So hopefully that made sense.
Yes, beautiful. Love that. Thank you, Brianne. Helene, did you want to add to that?
Well, just that sometimes I wish I could just be normal, like not care, but it's like I've tried to do other things, and life keeps pulling me back. And when Penelope didn't want to go to college, Penelope's my daughter. She's lost 160 pounds now. And she said, Mom, I'd really like to start this weight loss company with you. And I thought, oh my gosh, obesity, I'm not going there. It's just so dark, and it's just such a hard hill to climb. And I grew up in that. And then, of course, all the dots connected. And it's like, okay, well, I guess I was born to do this. And obesity is just one of every condition that comes with it, right? And it just happens to be rampant right now. And so reversing it is so important. And I can see the solution so clearly. And it's like how I have this drive in me that is somewhat insatiable, and so strong. It's kind of challenging for me even to keep up with it, because it has to change, and reversing it is not that challenging. But we do need profitable, incentivized lifestyle medicine solutions that insurance companies pay for, that are integrated into hospital, schools, and medical practices. And it has to be food, fitness, and mindset. And doctors' offices are just not designed that way. The business model doesn't support it. And we have to change it. And I'm very hopeful that we can in this administration. And believe it or not, there are armies of health coaches that are trained, that are ready to be deployed, and don't really have jobs because there's just no position for them in the structure. So I'm very hopeful that we can turn it around. We do need support, accountability, education, and correct information. And yeah, I mean, I'm on fire, and I'm unstoppable. And I know these moms up here, all of us on this call are, and it's going to require that, because the power is with the people. I love what Nicole said. The power is with the moms. We control a lot.
Yes. Yes. So I had the honor of being on with Helene and Penelope last week. And we talked about a number of things that we're talking about here. But I'm so clear that what the through line is for all of us has to do with freedom and injustice. From the time I was a little girl, I've always had this, well, I have a sixth sense anyway, but when people weren't honest, I could feel it in my body. And when I saw things that weren't okay, I felt it in my body. And I had my own health journey. So for me, to create a culture of peace that's led by the mothering energy, that energy of compassion and nurturing and clarity and intuition and fierce love, that to me is what is going to, as Nicole said, bring the moms together, hold these politicians high. The prayer circle, when I was with the campaign and I initiated this Sunday prayer circle for RFK Jr. and Maha as it became Maha, we're still happening. We still meet every Sunday at 5 p.m. Pacific time. We meet before events. It's become a spiritual community of all faiths because people want to activate the truth, to have something to raise up their awareness rather than sit in anything that keeps them down. So each and all of us that are here right now, the moms that are here, Nicole that left, but each of us, every person here, that if you're here, it's because there's a charge on your soul. You have been called. You're not here by accident. I don't believe in accidents. I think it's just God's way of being mysterious. But each and every person that's here has been called for a reason. And whatever your reason is, that is between you and the God of your understanding. So we come back again and again to remember. I use the word remind because I love that. It's about, I think you said, fitness and mindset. And to me, it's where do we place our attention? Each and all of us that are here have been brought to our knees by something that was so painful, where we couldn't see out of it. There was something that was happening to our child, to us, that we couldn't, see our way out of. But then that divine intervention raised us up so we could see the light and see where are we walking. And so the reason that it's so wonderful to come together in this kind of dialogue and conversation is to know, so you're not alone. You're not crazy. There's nothing wrong with you. That we might live in a crazy world that wants to separate people from the truth of their being, but you're not crazy. Not one of you are crazy. Maybe you do some wacky things. I don't know. I don't know you all. I could do some wacky things. Ask my husband and my daughter. But in the main, we're just here to be these lights. Each and all of us are lighthouses in our homes, in our communities. And like Brianne said, you don't have to be, at the front of a rally. You don't have to be out there. How you live your life, how you love, how you give, that ripples out. Nothing is lost in I like to call it the multiverse. Nothing is lost. So I'm so grateful to each and every one of you that is on this panel, to Nicole, and to everyone that's here holding space. Because yes, you are the light of the world. Ye are gods. Ye are the light of the world. The light that is within each and every person, that no person, no place, and no thing can take from you. That's why we keep our consciousness high. That's why we raise ourselves up. That's why we stand up and we go to the Capitol or we go to DC time and time and time and time again, because we know the truth. So we stand there, and it comes from love. Love of our children, love of the Creator, love for truth and justice. So that is where we stand. That is the holy ground. I stand upon this and I shall not be moved. We shall not be moved. We're just moving forward. So, mothers, mamas, I'm going to do a lightning round of questions to you. Okay. One word, and let me make sure you're all that I don't know what Zoom is doing. Zoom. That is crazy. Okay. Quick fire round. Whatever rises to your heart first. One word to describe motherhood for you today.
Fierce.
Inspiration.
Complete.
Empowered.
One wish for the children of today.
Wholeness.
Higher consciousness.
Confidence.
Healing.
Yeah. One wish for mothers everywhere.
Community.
Trust.
Love.
Peace.
Yes. Is there anything else that's on your heart before I close us out that you would like to share? Could be a sentence, a word, whatever feels called to you.
I'd like to just share the contribution of the fathers and the men in the world and in the household.
Absolutely.
And because my journey would look a whole lot different without my husband. He is my protector. He is a provider. He is a leader and a role model. We fight this fight together. He is very much my biggest supporter. I'd say cheerleader, but he might X that word out. He nurtures and loves me. He is a teacher, and he loves unconditionally. On those days where I'm tired at the end of the day, my husband never fails to knock on Noah's door and say, "Come out and give me a hug. I just want to hug." And he is the love and the light in my life. And, he's doing so much for so many around the world as well, in his commitment to service. So I'd like to, create that shout out for all the men and dads, the warrior dads.
Yes.
Because I named my book Warrior Mom doesn't mean it was just my story.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't ever discount the warrior dads, because I couldn't have done it without mine.
Yes, 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 and yes. Absolutely. I always say you cannot be a mama without a papa.
Yeah.
I will
want to say
fully
thank you.
second that.
Wanted to thank Wendy for putting this together, and for her heart for mothers and community and fellowship, and for her faith and how much she believes in us, and the power that our intention has and that prayer has, and all that she's carried forth spiritually for what's happening right now, which is historical. And so I just want to thank everyone who showed up here today, because I believe in this collective intention, and just that there is hope, and what you do matters, what you think matters, what you eat matters, what you buy matters. Every single decision matters more than I think we realize.
Thank you, Helene.
I would say don't let anyone let you feel lesser than. And, you know, I've experienced a lot of bullying from the medical community and from even people that I thought were my supporters in my life. And I had to work through that and believe in yourself. So don't doubt yourself and don't let anyone bully you into silence.
Yes. So I've gotten a number of private messages from people asking me if I will close out with a prayer. So I'm going to honor the request and close us out with a prayer. And I want to say, this is my disclaimer. I want to let you know that this is an all faith prayer. So whatever your faith is, there will be a moment when I invite you to speak whatever name that you call, if it's Hashem, if it's Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, Allah, whatever name you call this presence, because there's 8 billion people on the planet. So we know that there are many, many roads to the mountaintop. So we know that. And I'm so honored and grateful for each and every woman who's here on the panel. Nicole, wherever you are, thank you, thank you. And for every person that is here with us this evening, thank you for being here. I will make sure you get the recording, and you'll stay in touch. We'll make sure you know how to stay in touch with everybody. And it is my joy and honor to be of service always to the children and to the families. And I thank my husband for holding down all that he does. So let's just take a moment. And to how very grateful I am for this hallowed ground upon which I stand, this place in consciousness, where I know absolutely and resolutely that all that there is God. All that there is good. All that there is love. I know that this infinite invisible presence is called by so many names in so many different languages, and even by those who cannot speak a word. God is right where they are. I know that this presence is never an absence, that it indwells, surrounds, permeates, and saturates everything, everyone, everywhere simultaneously. No place, no space, no spot where God is not. It is right here, right now, living and loving itself as my life and the life of each and every mama on this panel and each and every person in this sacred virtual round table. Right where they are, God is. Living them, loving them, breathing their lungs, beating their hearts. And in this unified field of oneness, not sameness, oneness, it is so easy for me to speak this word, blessing each and every child that comes into this world, each and every parent, each and every mother, each and every father, the ones that are mothering the earth, the gardeners and the farmers, the ones that are mothering projects and ideas, the ones that are mothering and fathering the children. I call forth peace, peace of mind, the peace that passes all human understanding. I call forth beauty, love, intelligence, wisdom, strength to continue to rise, to continue to provide, to continue to expand and explore the beauty and the wonderment of this world. I bless each and every elected official in this administration and beyond. I call forth the highest rising of consciousness and integrity within each and every person who is not only here in this circle, but who is in this administration. I bless them and I call forth purity, integrity, strength, valor. Blessing Bobby for his work as HHS secretary, blessing each and all of those that he is assembling on his team, blessing each and every mama on this panel that said yes and continues to say yes, blessing the papas, blessing each and every person who has said yes to being part of this historic movement called Maha, called freedom, called justice, knowing that just us uniting together in the heart, this global heart of love, of peace, of truth, of justice, goes forth, ripples out into this world, and there are miracles that continue to unfold into and as each and every person's life. and their children and their loved ones. So I know that something new has been set in motion by this evening, and that it continues to articulate itself through each and every person present. And so, in the name of all that is holy, in the name of whatever you say God is to you, it is. So I just say, take a moment of silence, and in the name of God, to God flows the glory, calling forth healthy children, healthy seeds, healthy soil, clean air, clean water. Wherever there is deception or corruption, it dissolves into its native nothingness, and in its place is the revelation of wholeness, is the revelation of truth. This is what I declare is the very activity of this society and the very activity of each and every person gathered here who gets to be a lighthouse, an emissary of light, love, peace, and truth in the world. And for this and so much more than words can say or eyes can see, I am deeply grateful and thankful. I declare that this word goes forth and it is made manifest. And I lovingly and gratefully allow that to be, saying amen, amen, ashe, aho. It is done. So be it. Okay. All right, mamas. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for
Thank you,
having us.
everyone.
Thank you.
And thanks everyone for joining.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone. I will see you very soon. Peace and richest blessings. Be well. Bye for now.